Hello, welcome to August 15th, 2023. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation. This is an exercise that I do each and every morning, a little bit after waking up. It's now 4:40 a.m. I do this in order to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone. I also use this time to reflect on the last 24 hours, to think about the challenges and opportunities that I met, and to see how I did applying my principles and objectives to these to improve. I also think about the coming day, anticipating where the rough spots may be and preparing myself accordingly. And, very importantly, preparing myself for the unexpected. But before we get started, let's read a poem or two. First we'll read yesterday's poem, and then we'll read a new one for today. Yesterday's poem is called, and it's a little bit of a long one, and then the next one's a little bit long, so let's begin. We studied this one yesterday, so if you want to read the details, watch yesterday's video for the 14th. This is called Upon My Life, Sir Nevis, I Am Piqued. It's a dialogue between the fattest woman in Inverness, that's how she's described, and as she attempts to climb the tallest mountain in Scotland, also the tallest mountain in the British Isles. Here it is. So it's back and forth, and you'll have a little call out when it's the woman and the mountain, and she is referred to as, I think her name is Mrs. Chambers or something like that, but we'll just call her Mrs. C as it's in here. So remember, the woman is attempting to climb the mountain, and she's stopping midway, a little bit worn out. Mrs. C. Upon my life, Sir Nevis, I am piqued that I have so far panted, tugged, and reeked to do an honor to your old bald pate, and now am sitting on you just to bait, without your paying me one compliment. Alas, 'tis so withal, when our intent is plain, and in the eye of all mankind we fair ones show a preference too blind. You, gentlemen, immediately turn tail. Oh, let me then my hapless fate bewail. Ungrateful bald pate, have I not disdained? The pleasant valleys have I not mad-brained? Deserted all my pickles and preserves, my china closet too, with wretched nerves. To boot, say, wretched ingrate, have I not left my soft cushion chair and cuddle pot? 'Tis true I had no corns, no, thank the fates. My shoemaker was always Mr. Bates. And if not Mr. Bates, why, I'm not old. Still dumb, ungrateful Nevis, still so cold. Here the lady took some more whiskey, and was putting even more to her lips, when she dashed it to the ground, for the mountain began to grumble, which continued for a few minutes before he began thus. Ben Nevis. The mountain. What whining bits of tongue and mouth thus dares disturb my slumber of 1,000 years? Even so long my sleep has been secure, and to be so awaked I'll not endure. No pain, for since the eagle's earliest scream, I've had a damned, confounded, ugly dream, a nightmare, sure. What, madam, was it you? It cannot be, my old eyes are not true. Red crag, my spectacles, now let me see. Good heavens, lady, how the Gemini did you get here? Oh, I shall split my sides, I shall earthquake. Mrs. C. Sweet Nevis, do not quake, for though I love your honest countenance, all things above, truly I should not like to be conveyed so far into your bosom. Gentle maid loves not too rough a treatment, gentle sir. Pray thee be calm, and do not quake nor stir, no, not a stone, or I shall go in fits. Ben Nevis. I must, I shall. I meet not such titbits. I meet not such sweet creatures every day. but my old nightcap, night and day, I must have one sweet bus. I must and shall, red crag. What, madam, can you then repent of all the toil and vigor you have spent to see Ben Nevis and to touch his nose? Red crag, I say, oh, I must have you close. Red crag, there lies beneath my farthest toe a vein of sulphur. Go, dear red crag, go, and rub your flinty back against it. Budge, dear madam, I must kiss you, faith I must. I must embrace you with my dearest gust. Blockhead, do you hear, blockhead? I'll make her feel. There lies beneath my east leg's northern heel a cave of young earth dragons. Well, my boy, go thither quick, and so complete my joy. Take you a bundle of the largest pines, and where the sun on fiercest phosphor shines, fire them and ram them in the dragon's nest. Then will the dragons fry and fizz their best, until 10,000 now no bigger than poor alligators, poor things of one span, will each one swell to twice 10 times the size of northern whale. Then for the tender prize, the moment then, for then will red crag rub his flinty back, and I shall kiss and snub and press my dainty morsel to my breast. Blockhead, make haste. O muses, weep the rest. The lady fainted, and he thought her dead. She pulled the clouds again about his head, so pulled the clouds again about his head, and went to sleep again. Soon she was roused by her affrighted servants. Next day housed, safe on the lowly ground, she blessed her fate. That fainting fit was not delayed too late. It's a close one. Today's poem is a unique one. It's very long. I mean, maybe a little longer than the one we just read. I haven't read it at all yet. It's long enough that I would usually skip it, because I usually don't read very long poems in this exercise. But I'm going to read it just because it sounds so, the title is so intriguing. I'd like to share it with you. It's Stanzas on Some Skulls in Beaulieu Abbey near Inverness. Hey, the same place that lady was from. So remember, these poems were written in chronological order in Keats's life. So he wrote this poem immediately after the poem about the mountain. I had to look up just a little bit. I didn't know what Beaulieu meant. So Beaulieu turns out to be it's Beaulieu Abbey, and that's an abbey that was founded in Scotland. I think it's in Scotland in the 13th century. Not a lot is known about the early history of it. It seems like it was French monks that spoke French, of course, and they gave it the region a French name, which is like Beaulieu, Beau Illy, something like that. The first word meaning beautiful, and then the second word meaning place. And the story is that Mary, Queen of Scots, was passing by in her carriage and poked her head outside and said, "It's such a," or this is the other story that she said, because she spoke French, was, "Oh, what a beautiful place," in French. What a Beau Illy, or however you say it. So there's two stories for how the place got its names. Anyway, they took those two. The English took those two words, Beau Illy or whatever, and combined it to Beaulieu. So it made it one word, Beaulieu. So Beaulieu Abbey. And apparently Keats visited that abbey and wrote the following, which I have not read. I'm going to rely on my wits just to get through this. Probably lots of vocabulary here that is not completely clear to me, or that I may know but not completely be right on the tip of my mind. Let's read it. Stanzas on Some Skulls in Beaulieu Abbey near Inverness. I shed no tears, deep thought or awful vision I had none. By 1,000 petty fancies I was crossed, Wordsworth, and mocked the dead bones that lay scattered by Shakespeare. And there's a note here, written in collaboration with Charles Brown. Keats's contributions are given in Roman type. Oh, so it's a collaborative piece. Now, You can't see where the Roman type is, so I don't know how I'll do this. I'll have to rely on you to read, just look the poem up, maybe. I don't know how I would do it otherwise. Oh, maybe I'll just call out. I'll say Keats. I do that. In silent barren synod met, within those roofless walls, Keats, where yet the shafted arch and carved fret cling to the ruin, the brethren's skull mourn dewy, wet, their creeds undoing, Brown. The mitred ones of Nice and Trent were not so tongue-tied, no, they went hot to their councils, scarce content with orthodoxy. But ye, poor tongueless things, were meant to speak by proxy, Keats. Your chronicles no more exist, since Knox the revolutionist destroyed the work of every fist that scrawled black letter. Well, I'm a craniologist, and may do better. Really? I didn't know you had that skill. This skull cap, so I guess he's looking at skulls. Attempting, what is that, phenology or whatever it is? I don't know. This skull cap wore the cowl from sloth. Always trying to discern the region by the skull. What a trick. Or discontent, perhaps, from both. And yet one day against his oath he tried escaping, for men, though idle, may be loath to live on gaping. Atop her this, so someone who drinks, he plied his glass, more strictly than he said the mass, and loved to see a tempting lass come to confession, letting her absolution pass o'er fresh transgression. Jeez! This crawled through life in feebleness, boasting. See, he's looking at all these skulls and inferring all of these things. This crawled through life in feebleness, boasting he never knew excess, cursing those crimes he scarce could guess, or feel but faintly, with prayers that heaven would come to bless men so unsaintly. Here's a churchman, he'd affect much charity, and ne'er neglect to pay for mercy on the elect, but thought no evil in sending heathen, Turk, and sect all to the devil. Brown. Poor skulls, thy fingers set ablaze with silver saint in golden rays, the holy missal thou didst craze mid bead and spangle, while others passed their idle days in cool and wrangle. Interesting how the very different writing style, huh? Keats. Long time this sconce a Hamlet wore, but sickness smites the conscience sore. He broke his sword and hither bore his gear and plunder, took to the cowl, then raved and swore at his damned blunder. Brown. So a soldier who had failed and come to the abbey and then couldn't give it up. Brown. This lily-colored skull with all the teeth complete, so white and small, belonged to one whose early pale a lover shaded. He died ere superstition's gall his heart invaded. Keats. Here is, picking up another skull, here is undivulged crime. Despair forbade his soul to climb beyond this world, this mortal time of fevered sadness, until their monkish pantomime dazzled his madness. It's a good poem. Another skull. A younger brother this, a man aspiring as a Tartar Khan, but curbed and baffled he began the trade of frightening. It smacked of power, and here he ran to deal heaven's lightning. I wonder if there are priests that have that motivation. This idiot skull belonged to one, a buried miser's only son, who's penitent, ere he'd begun to taste of pleasure, and hoping heaven's dread wrath to shun, gave hell his treasure. Here is the forehead of an ape, a robber's mark, and near the nape, that bone fiant bears just the shape of carnal passion. He was one for theft and rape in monkish fashion. What? This was the porter. He could ring, or dance, or play, do anything. And what the friars bade him bring, they ne'er were balked of. Matters not worth remembering, and seldom talked of. Dull pedestrian monk. Last one. Enough. Why need I further pour? This corner holds at least a score, and yonder twice as many more, of reverend brothers. 'Tis the same story over and over. They're all like the others. That's a good poem. And it really didn't require much it's good that I just jumped in. It really didn't require much depth, or study, because it was all kind of surface level stuff. That was good. I really liked it. Okay, let's do the good life. Yesterday and last night. Slept great last night. Yesterday was a fine day, solid day of work. Did all my duty, and had a great swim in the ocean. I was a little tired in the afternoon. Yumiko made a really nice dinner, had a great walk with her. I love walking the dogs with my wife. Yumiko had to go into the office today, and it was a little tricky walking the dogs at lunch, though, because she wasn't here. They're not used to walking just with me so much anymore. It's like a three-ring circus. Usually we have a very orderly parade. I take the black dog in the lead, and then Yumiko went back with the white dog. It didn't work so well, and it was just me with the two dogs. They want to go different separate ways. Curious that. Good day, nothing really to speak of in terms of ambush. There was one thing at work that happened, but I talked to Yumiko about it. I'm not going to talk about it here. It's too close to work. I think I've got that under control, though. The good life. 7 objectives. To be always ready to die. To make good and effective use of time. To develop and maintain good and sound life principles. To cultivate good emotional reactions. To perform good actions, to recognize true limits and true opportunity, and to do just one thing at a time, and do that thing slowly, deliberately, and carefully. And let's take score. 34 principles. War, reason, homunculus, anchor hold, home of good and evil. Purpose, atomic principle, principle of nature, the pirate ride. Maturity, social principle, principle of family. Public speaking, temperance. Life will not go well. The horror show, that which must be borne. The feast of Offal. Distraction, agency in the great indifference, the best seat in the house. The restless man, the path of wildness, the great life adventure, the risk of avoiding risk, sin and damnation, complete oblivion, the season of philosophy, script writing, the bullseye aim, the uphill climb, arena and utility, nothing is enough, and the principle of fun. 10, 20, 34. That's like the third time in a row I've measured it. I get 34. And it's simply because I haven't made any changes in so long, so it's finally settled into my mind. And it doesn't seem to be hurting me that I'm not going into detail on this. It's so deep inside me. I wrote all these things and put them all together. It's just touching on them every day seems to be it's like, I don't know. What do I know about Catholicism or religion, but doing the Stations of the Cross or the Rosary, right? It's kind of like doing the Rosary. It brings it foremost to mind. Anyway, if you're curious about what all of these things I just said mean, have a look in my book, Going Alone, in the chapter titled The Good Life. They're all detailed there. Okay, as for today, it's a Tuesday. I have my duty, I have my job, and I plan to do it. I'm in good health and good spirits today. I'll finish this, do all my other morning stuff, feed the dogs, get busy to work. I'll do my walk with my wife at lunchtime, another walk in the evening. Oh, and I am taking on the neighbor's cat. She's going to be gone for the rest of the week, and I promised to feed her cat all this week. I need to set an alarm to do that all throughout the day. Yeah, I'll do that after this too. And various sundries, and water her plants and just take care of various sundry things. I'm ready. Anything else? Oh, my life story. I'm at this point in my life where I'm winding down my career, about to wind up the thing I'm going to do with the rest of my life, which is to tell the story of going alone and the Good Life Creed. That's what I'm going to spend my life doing. Oh, I did finish the first full draft of first collaborative AI collaborative novel or book called The Stoic Voyager that I'm going to be working on throughout the week in my spare time. Should have that done and ready to publish. Oh, and my first first copy of Stoic Poetry Volume 1 arrived last night. So I get to look at that. This is the, what do they call it, the author's print, so I can have a look and see if there's any issues before I release it. Can't wait. That's it. Oh, am I ready to die? Yeah, totally ready to die. My life's work, my affairs are in order, my relationships are sound, and my life's work is complete. So it's all gravy on this point. I am ready to go. Am I ready to really go in earnest? Well, I won't really know that until the time comes, right? Unless I go immediately, then I won't even know better. I think I'm ready to go. And with that, I'll stop. My life is done, if not finished. And with that, I wish you all the best. Be safe, but not too safe. Take care.